Taped live from Golden, Colorado, it's a very special edition of the AMP'D UP211 podcast. We're bringing you a two-part series straight from the heart of the 2025 Limb Preservation Foundation Symposium, where game changers, lifesavers, and boundary breakers gathered to inspire, connect, and move. Up first, he took the Bachelorette by storm, and now he's storming the stage with purpose. Cam Ayala shares his mission to redefine masculinity and the power of advocacy. Then meet Dr. Connor Glass, a physician and neurotechnology innovator who's revolutionizing prosthetic control through minimally invasive neural interfaces. His work is paving the way for more intuitive and lifelike prosthetic limbs. And closing out part one, the insightful and empowering Angelina Martinson, a biomedical engineer and advocate who challenges internalized ableism and champions authentic representation in the limb difference community. This is more than a podcast. This is a pulse check on a community that's evolving, thriving, and making noise. So buckle up for part one of our Symposium Spotlight Lounge series, because the AMP'D UP211 podcast is officially in session. We are here with Mr. Cam Ayala. We are at the Limb Preservation Foundation's 2025 Symposium, and this is a very familiar face in our community. Cam, this is your third appearance.
Three-peat.
I mean, this guy is on so often, he shows up in the t-shirt for the podcast.
Look at that.
It's incredible. I'm telling you.
Maybe I should get a tattoo.
Well, I have an AMP'D UP211 tattoo, but we're not going to show that.
Okay.
It's in a very private place.
Okay. Your heart.
So 3 times. What do you think? 3 times the charm?
Yeah, well, this is our first face-to-face, so that's kind of cool.
Is it weird?
No, you're everything I thought.
Is it like
and more.
dizzying?
Nah, it's good. It's good. I like these in-person conversations.
You're like,
a
I
little
had no
better.
idea how old you were, Rick.
No, you're good. I got to see your better half, though, so that's good.
That's true.
Yeah.
Sitting nearby somewhere.
Yep.
So I'm looking at the Cam Ayala journey, and I'm thinking, man, his second act is really something to behold. If we're talking about Act 2, post-amputation, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, just incredible stuff. It's like movie making kind of stuff. And you can say, okay, he embraced this thing, full tilt, comes from struggle, lived with lymphedema, but then faced amputation and just leveled up. Mm-hmm. Said, okay, this is me, this is what I'm doing, and I'm going to just go full tilt in the advocacy space. I'm going to make great things happen in this community. And where do you find, because, I come from a similar kind of motivation, but where do you find that desire to put yourself out there? Where do you find that comes from?
So very similar to part of the reason why you started this podcast is when you can talk to other people with limb loss or limb difference, there's therapy in that, there's healing in that. We can find the common denominators. I call it the limb diagram, right?
Yeah.
We can find things that we share, not just the triumphs, but the struggles. I find more beauty and, hey, I'm having pain in this socket, and I need to talk to another above-knee amputee who understands to validate that. Because let's be honest, not all prosthetists are created equally. And we were talking before we were recording, we now both go to Dave Rotter. Shout out Dave Rotter.
Dave Rotter right here.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Check it out.
This is it. We're your poster boys. Above and below. So, but where it roots from, so my faith system, so I'm a Christian, and so I believe in just serving other people in all capacities, and in doing that, that's where I find so much joy, because it's not a matter of just paying it forward. Like, truly, when you can meet people in their deepest, darkest seasons of their life, which for a lot of people that's going through limb loss, they don't see hope, they don't see thriving after amputation. So Being able to kind of headfirst dive into that, I'll be honest, the first conversation we had, like, it was probably a bit premature for me personally, as far as like me being like actually healed, not just from the surgery itself, but
Yeah.
like my spirit, and like understanding that there are some times when you're navigating life as an amputee that you're going to fall, not just literally, but metaphorically, financially in some cases, if you have to take some time off work like I had to. But what I have found is embracing this as this is my purpose,
Yeah.
then I can start to overextend myself, but for the greater good.
Yeah.
And I think that's where just my heart posture has changed since the first time we talked almost 3 years ago.
Yeah, I really appreciate that phrase, my heart posture, because I talk a lot about doing the heart work
Mhm.
that goes into this and trying to not only redefine yourself in this space, but also try to show and spread as much light as possible.
Yep.
And that comes through things like awareness, advocacy, being part of a community, coming to these events. I've known Marcy, the executive director here at the Limb Preservation Foundation, for a while now, and I am so blown away when I meet people that are not amputee, that are so dedicated
Mhm.
to our mission
Yep.
to get this forward movement happening,
Yeah.
to get us the hardware we need or the emotional support that we need, and you've done so much in so little time. Because I talk to so many amputees like you're like probably you do, and I think, wow, um, you've been at this 10, 15, 20 years, and you're just now acclimating
Mhm.
to a prosthesis.
Yep.
Like, how how are you so patient in that struggle? Because when I met you, I mean, you were like fast tracking, man. You were
Yeah.
moving quick.
I think 2 weeks post amputation, I was back doing CrossFit without a prosthesis. And look, I think part of that, there's a little bit of like survival
Mm-hmm.
mode, fight or flight. And I had a conversation recently with somebody. I think what happens typically if you're someone who's new to limb loss, who was once a pretty big athlete in some capacity, like for me being from Texas, I played baseball, basketball, and football
Yeah,
most of my young life, and then
super active guy.
played basketball in college. So I thought that after I had my amputation, that I was going to be the next LeBron James of wheelchair basketball.
Yeah,
I just assumed that all my muscle memory and the skills that I had as an able-bodied basketball player would translate over into that sport,
yeah.
and that I was going to make the 2024 Paris Paralympics, and I was going to start, and I was going to gold medal. Boy, was that humble pie so bittersweet.
Yeah.
And
At what point were you like, wait a minute?
day one at practice in Houston. So I think when I first sat in that sports chair, I just assumed that there's maybe like a different braking mechanisms, but no, your hands are the brake pads.
Mm-hmm.
And some of my teammates who have been amputees or limb difference like most of their lives, their time in the chair was far more advanced than I was. So it was really humbling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think oftentimes, again, if you're that former athlete and you become someone with limb loss or limb difference, like there's almost this pressure we put on ourselves to
Yeah.
compare ourselves to Paralympians,
Yeah.
which it's amazing to see the art of what's possible with what these men and women do. But for me, I realize, hey, my Paralympics may be, hey, I'm going to go a full week doing my own shower routine. I'm going to check my mail. I'm going to learn how to wheel the trash can down the end of the driveway. And to me, as I started getting those, monthly, then eventually daily small victories, it like accumulated to this like true gold medal that I felt of like, okay, now you've figured some things out. A lot of people have shared some awesome tips and tricks with you. Your purpose now is to go share that gift with other people. And so that's kind of where my heart posture has changed from the last time we talked. And it is equated to me getting involved with some pretty amazing organizations and different
So talk about
initiatives.
that. Tell
Yeah.
tell me about that.
Yeah. So initially, my first kind of intro into like volunteering and advocating was with Challenge Athletes Foundation.
Yep.
So got to learn about the world of adaptive sports through them, but like my heart gravitated towards these young kids, and these young kids, man, like what they've gone through at their young age, I could relate to a certain extent with my lymphedema starting at age 11.
Sure.
So I know what it's like to have kind of part of your childhood. I don't want to say robbed, because these kids are so joyful and their attitude is so contagious to me. So, in serving them, I received more. And so that was my first kind of entry point into our community. And then after that, going to Ecuador to do Range of Motion Project, which I think we talked about that a little bit on our second episode together, and just seeing other countries and their lack of prosthetic
I
care
know.
is totally mind blowing.
I know.
So that just gave me an appreciation for, though America is not perfect at our healthcare system, we, guys like you and I can go see Dave Rotter and other amazing prosthetists in the country.
There's a whole nother basement, if not below the basement, in the sentiment of the earth that people are living in that do not have access to resources.
Yep.
And, Romp's a great example. Shout out to another great Dave,
Yes,
Krupa,
Frupa, exactly.
who we've had on the show. And gosh, when I saw the assemblance of people that were going, and I was jealous.
It's like the
I was like,
amputee Avengers. It kind of is.
Notice I used assemblance.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, all the cool kids are going.
Well, I can officially say that, Rick, you're a cool kid, and
Oh,
you
thank
should maybe consider doing something
cool
with
old
Romp
man.
one time. But another one is in Josh, who you had on as your guest, Josh Reed.
Oh, Josh Reed, yeah.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
I was a participant at the Bethany Hamilton Forge Men's Retreat this past
Oh.
October.
What was that like?
Well, first off, that was my first time ever surfing. I never even attempted to surf as an able-bodied person. So
Oh, wow.
getting into that ocean, and having like professional surfers and volunteers like give me the confidence to like even attempt to try to surf, like it was absolutely incredible, because that was the first time that I went into kind of a nonprofit situation as a participant. Because for the first 2 years of my life after amputation, I just was like pouring out to other people. And don't get me wrong, I've had a lot of amazing connections with people like you and other people like Zach Friedley, who's been a great mentor
Yeah.
for me.
Zach's awesome.
Like just give me tips along the way. But this was like a weekend where I could like, okay, Cam, we're going to be present here, and we're going to allow these other guys with limb loss and limb difference to just give you wisdom, give you encouragement, give you prayer. And that was a truly transformative weekend for me. And I'm excited to be going back here again. It's going to be in Texas this time. We're doing a surf park in Waco.
That's great.
So that's going to be fun.
That's great.
And then I'm also excited to apply with the Limb Foundation to go to Africa at some point, hopefully in November if I'm accepted there. So it's really just for me, it's my mission, it's my purpose, and it just again gives me such an appreciation for the blessings that we do have here in the States.
Absolutely.
And being just a little bit of light to people in other countries who have really tough circumstances.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously big shouts out to Josh and Zach, all these amazing people, more connective tissue
Yep.
between all of us. And we're sort of building this this club, this community, this sort of fellowship of, hey, we're all in this together, and we have to be able to share our energies and keep pushing the needle. And the outreach in terms of the global piece, I really admire.
Yeah.
That's something that you're sort of putting on your radar to say I've got to get out there.
Yep.
Not that we're, like you said, not that we're perfect in this country, and there's plenty of people that are struggling here, but boy, oh boy, you haven't seen desperation until you've gone to some of these places around the world and seen people, above the knee amputees walking with tree branches.
Yep.
And you can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Right? Given the technology
Yeah.
that we have access to.
Yep.
So given all of that, right? Where you are now.
Mm-hmm.
Does the Bachelorette seem like 8 million miles away?
You want to know what's crazy?
Like, what was that?
As we're here at the Limb Preservation Foundation
Foundation
Symposium,
Yeah.
as I'm walking into the exhibitor booth,
Yeah.
I see a gentleman who is a vendor, and he's literally 7 feet away from me right now, who was on my season of The Bachelorette and Bachelor in Paradise.
Seriously?
He has all 4 of his limbs, so old Matt Donald is good, but he's in the wound care space, as am I now professionally. So
Really?
another full circle moment.
Wow.
And I didn't know he was going to be here. So literally as I'm walking into the exhibit hall.
Hello.
Yeah. Remember that time we shared a girlfriend one night? He got eliminated night 1. I'm kidding. No, Matt's a good dude.
Come on, no comment?
Not in front of the camera.
Yeah. But that does seem like an eternity ago.
It's got to.
Yeah, and it's 6 years ago. I guess it was almost 6 years ago when that happened. And look, like there was a time in my life where I'm like, that's the scarlet letter I'll never be able to escape.
Yeah.
Right? Just because of like kind of how they treated my lymphedema and this, that, and the other. But
That was tricky, man.
the other tricky part too is when I was recovering from my amputation, like there were major media outlets that were covering it who were the same media outlets who some 2.5 years prior were calling me one of the greatest villains of Bachelor franchise history.
Yeah.
So you just, you can't really navigate your life at the constant seeking of affirmation, especially from complete strangers. And so really what I've learned is just to hold my tribes closer because, to your point earlier, we were created for community.
Yeah.
That's how we can lift each other up in seasons where
Yep.
we need that help. And
Yeah.
so my new community now is the limb loss, limb difference community. And it is just filled with some of the most resilient people
Oh,
I've
yeah.
ever met in my life. Like,
Yep.
you don't have to dig too deep to just find all the hope that I've gleaned from brief conversations from quad amps. I think I have it bad with just being a single leg above the knee, but I hear the resilience and the grit from
Oh, yeah.
quad amps or the pediatric patients who were
Mhm.
born with limb difference, who never had a natural leg. So
Yeah.
I think just like in all things, it gives you perspective. And when you have perspective and then you can be obedient to using the resources and the
Absolutely.
platforms that are given to you, that's where you can ultimately try to make a change at the local and then hopefully the global level.
What are the things that surprised you most
Well, I knew
about this exercise and adaptation?
for me, I knew it was going to be a challenge for at least for the socket componentry because with my lymphedema, my fluctuation of volume from the start of the day to the end of the day has a variation of multiple centimeters, like to the point where like doing the plied socks just wasn't going to be realistic for me. So
Are you in an adjustable now?
oh yeah. So like, this is just an example of one of the many variations of adjustable sockets I've had to do. So this is one that Dave Rotter and his team customized for
Got
me.
it.
So it's got the little
Yep.
ratchet systems here,
Yep.
which they actually typically use these for the sled hockey sleds that he's infamous for.
Yeah, I've seen that type of dial up. You
Yep.
know, obviously there's a couple variations.
Yeah, and I've had the Click Medical ones. I've
Medical,
had some
yeah.
BOA ones, right?
And you feel like this one's serving you well right now?
This one so far seems to be serving me pretty well. But I mean, look, I'm an above knee, so even with the best microprocessor knee and a really good custom adjustable socket, I'm not immune to phantom pain. I'm not
Right.
immune to skin irritation. And that's kind of like the double-edged sword if you're an amputee who wants to be active.
Yep.
It's like you have to find that balance because if you're too active,
Mhm.
then you're going to have skin issues and then you're going to be stuck to your crutches
Exactly.
or a wheelchair. So I'm still in that trial and error phase of finding what works for me, and that's why conferences like this and talking to other amputees, you get little life hacks.
And do you feel like accepting that trial and error idea is part of the success of amputees? Meaning, if I just embrace that this is a work in progress forever, my limb's always going to be changing. I'm always going to be evolving as an amputee, depending on my mobility, how active I am. As long as I really, really press into that and say, this is just how it works, man, right?
Yeah.
Then all of this micromanaging, tweaking, visits to Dave Rotter, so on and so forth, it's okay.
Yeah.
This is the process.
Yeah.
This is what we do,
Yeah.
right? Because, I was an adjustable for a while. Obviously, I don't have a history of lymphedema, but I can see where that precondition creates a whole other spectrum of considerations
Yep.
about how do I manage this now?
Yeah.
And what's the best thing for me at my age,
Yep.
at my weight, at my activity level? What is the best thing and going to get me the gains that I'm looking for? And then if there's a life change, what adjustments do I need to make in order to still keep progressing? Because we don't know what's coming.
No.
We're talking to some people in the tech space
Yep.
today,
Mm-hmm.
and some of this stuff is just mind-blowing as far as where we're going.
Especially with AI integration too.
Dude, it's just like...
It's like iRobot is coming to fruition. Get your tinfoil hats. Yeah.
I mean, and I feel like the coolest part of being an amputee for both of us is we're part of this.
Mm-hmm.
We're part of this sort of moving of the needle, because every time we take a step, every time we visit the prosthetist, every time we post content or attend conferences, contribute to the community, we're creating that forward momentum.
Mm-hmm.
We're putting in our little piece, right? Because that's how change happens. People in the tech space, non-amputees, let's say,
Right.
who are they inspired by?
Us.
Us.
Yep.
They're doing it. They're trying to improve. They're pushing the boundaries, right? They want to do more. They want to see more. Let's give it to them.
Yeah.
And that, to me, I just love being part of that energy.
Yeah.
Even like a silly podcast, right? Like, we're just talking about it,
But here's the
but
thing.
it's important.
Look, we were joking about like the whole Bachelor stuff. Like in that environment, we were guinea pigs for love, right?
Yeah.
But I would much rather be a guinea pig for mobility.
Oh, yeah.
Because that is the gift that I have coming into the space with somewhat of a platform that I can talk to some of the top manufacturers and I can be a super user without being a Paralympian because they know I'm going to give them honest feedback.
Exactly.
And my whole heart behind doing some of these trials with different products and different things that they have going on is not just for my benefit. It's for the future amputees,
Yeah.
right? Like with lymphedema, there is a congenital side. If the Lord decides to bless me with a wife and kids, there is a likelihood that my kid could grow up with lymphedema. And I feel like I've done, no pun intended, but the legwork ahead of time.
Yep.
So that if, God forbid my child does come out with lymphedema, I will be better prepared to make
For
his
sure.
or hers experience
For sure.
way less met with the barriers that I had to go through. So no different than the veterans who fought for our country, right? They put in their sacrifices
Yeah.
so the next generation can have it a little bit easier. And I think with the speed of the advancements in technology with AI integration and just robotics becoming more and more adopted in all verticals and industries,
Yeah.
then hopefully there's some peripheral spillover into prosthetics, robotics, this, that, and the other, that, 5-10 years from now, you and I would be having a very different conversation that, we're not having today.
Remember those old buckets we used to put our legs into?
Exactly, right? Yeah.
I remember when.
Yeah. When osteointegration was the only option we had.
Exactly.
So I mean, it's one of those things where it's, to your point, it is very exciting, and it's honestly, it's an honor to be part of that. Even if we're just moving the needle a little bit,
Yeah.
there's forward momentum, there's forward progress.
Well, I'm a huge science fiction fan, so whenever I feel like I'm in a science fiction movie, I'm like, oh, this is cool. I'm really digging the space I'm in right now. Now, I know we're running out of time, so I want to wrap up.
Yep.
It would be, probably lacking of me to not ask you,
Okay.
how's dating going?
So I have recently moved back to Austin, Texas.
I did read that.
Yep. So from Houston back to Austin, and look, I'm kind of in a similar situation. Well, yes, I'm still single, but like I have found more purpose in my life working within the VA, volunteering with some of these other nonprofits. And I feel that if I'm walking and working in purpose, that there will be someone who's in that same ecosystem and that same environment who will have shared mission and vision, and then we'll have alignment. But before, when I was looking, I was, like the old country song, looking for love in all the wrong places, So I still desire that, but I feel like right now my love and my passion is going into the community.
Yeah.
And if someone happens to be in the community and it all works out, then I will be obedient when that time comes.
Yeah.
So if you know anybody.
Yeah. Hey, ladies.
Yeah.
Cam Ayala, please follow him. His content, what he brings to the community is just extraordinary. And he's such a light for all of us. And thank you so much.
Brother Rick, thank you, man.
3 times, man.
3 times, 3 feet, baby.
And, don't be a stranger. And
Likewise.
We'll see you next time.
Yep.
And
Come on down to Texas.
Actually, when I saw your mustache, I was kind of thinking more of a Johnny Ringo.
Johnny Ringo?
I was.
Okay.
I mean, I get the Wired Earp reference.
Yeah.
But if you've got a similar kind of smile to Johnny Ringo, and you got the nice straight teeth.
Thank you.
And I just felt like, it's definitely a tombstone kind of. I dig it.
Okay, I appreciate it.
It's nice. And I always thought Johnny Ringo, although he met his demise in the movie, I always thought he's kind of like one of the coolest cowboys of the cowboys.
Yeah.
He was kind of a badass. So
Yeah.
I was like, Johnny Ringo.
That's me now, Johnny Ringo.
All right.
Love it.
See you next time.
Sounds good. Thanks, Rick.
Hey everyone, we were lucky enough to run into a couple of attendees that are willing to speak to us today, 2 very special ladies. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves.
Sure, Armida Bachelor here.
How y'all doing? Brianna Jones.
We are at the 2025 Limb Preservation Foundation Symposium. How long have both of you been coming to the symposium?
This will actually be my 3rd year.
This is my 2nd year.
And how long have you been an amputee?
I have been an amputee since 2013.
Okay.
I've been an amputee since April 2015.
Okay. Well, as you can see, we all have something in common. The reason why we're here today. What were you hoping to gain in terms of coming to the symposium this year? What were you looking to learn? What were you looking to experience?
I definitely always look to learn about what's going on technology-wise, what they have coming up in reference to, even though I'm not an upper amputee, I'm always excited to learn about those as well because they're so cool, but definitely lower limb because it pertains to me personally.
And how about you?
Pretty much the same thing, but also today we met a lot of amputees with different prosthetics, so learn about future prosthetics, what they have in future technology, and what they're gonna do for lower limb amputees.
Got it. And in terms of community, do you feel like for amputees, community is an important piece for us?
Absolutely, because they have support groups for everybody else. So why not have one for amputees? So when you go there, you don't feel alone. You see other people like you. You know the terminology. You know what we feel: phantom limb pain. So it just work out that way.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And what's something that you learned specifically this year that really excited you?
About the Phantom Neuro that they have that they're working on.
Yeah.
So that they're doing the clinical trials for upper limb, which means that lower limb should be right behind it. So I'm excited about that.
And you learned that from Dr. Connor Glass?
Yep, yes, I did.
Okay. Hey everyone, we're here with Connor Glass, MD, the founder and CEO of Phantom Neuro. Connor Glass, right here next to me. How you doing?
Pleasure to be here.
Good to see you. Well, I
Good to
look
be
at you, Connor, and the first thing I think is, boy, I'm jealous.
I'll do the first hair flip. There we go. More to come.
And Connor's going to find it hard to believe that there was a time that I had hair just like Connor.
Fake news, I don't believe it.
I did. I swear. I have pictures to prove it.
You have to show me pictures after.
But I look at you and I think, musician, gotta be.
I play guitar.
Do you really?
Yeah.
And proficient at it?
Somewhat proficient. I've been playing for a long time. I don't play in a band or anything.
Okay.
But yeah.
But it's something you
I
pick
dabble.
up on
And a little bit of
occasion?
drums. Yeah.
Now, I would think, given what you do with your company and all the innovative things you're doing in the tech space with prosthetics, there would have to be some form of creative inside of you.
For sure.
Because you can't get to these places that you're going, right? This innovative thinking. We're going to talk a lot about, Phantom X and what you're doing with sort of changing the game in terms of going from, brain signals to muscle signals to control prosthetics, which is fantastic, So that gets me excited. But then I go, okay, here's someone that, is essentially a doctor, and you traded the scalpel for a startup?
I did.
Talk to me about that.
For better or for worse.
Okay.
I mean, I've always been driven by impact. How can you have the greatest impact on the world, as cheesy as that is?
Yeah.
And my other passion was for surgery and medicine. And so then I switched to pre-med and thought that I could have a big impact on the world by being a surgeon that worked with people that have functional disabilities through a reconstructive lens. How do you take people that have some kind of injured anatomy, reconstruct that anatomy in order to allow them to have better outcomes and better function after the injury? And so then I went down that path towards plastic surgery and did a lot of research, like at Johns Hopkins, within reconstructive surgery, and ultimately saw that all the technology that I thought was ready for prime time and mass implementation in terms of brain-computer interface, wearable sensors, prosthetic limbs, Luke Skywalker type of stuff, exoskeletons, that actually was very misleading, and that there's amazing robotic systems, but patients are not able to actually harness those robotic systems to do what they're intended to be done with. And that there was this massive technological gap between the human and the machine that needed to be solved in order to merge the two so that they could actually have those outcomes in a real world environment. And so then I was like, well, the greatest impact theoretically could be if I can come up with technology that solves that pain point. Rather than being a surgeon that just, does clinical trials with one-off patients, I want mass implementation of real world environments. And so that's what put me down the journey of the startup life.
And given, that endeavor, a startup, which when I think about that, especially at my age, I'm like, oh boy, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to take on. Hard enough to earn the degrees necessary to, reconstruct limbs, perform surgeries, all of those things, right? But to go into that very entrepreneurial space, that's a whole other...
Totally different skill set.
Oh my gosh.
Entirely different skill set.
Do you ever feel like it's just like overwhelming? Because you're a brilliant guy, obviously, based on what you're doing. You've proven that. But then it's like, I'm in this business space now.
Completely.
So
it's
what's that been like for you?
It was never what I thought I would do with my life.
Okay.
To me, it's a means to an end. So I enjoy the people that I get to interact with and like the team that I've built and working with amazing individuals with different types of disabilities and all of that. I don't particularly enjoy like fundraising and, signing NDAs constantly and all the paperwork associated with day-to-day operations of running a business. But it's a means to an end. And so overall, I love what I do. But a lot of what I do is not really my passion, which is at the end of the day, working with patients, helping people, and creating really cool stuff.
Right.
And so I have amazing engineers that do a lot of that stuff.
Right.
But a lot of my day-to-day is mundane business work.
Right.
Which I never thought that I would do, but it's worth it for the end result that I think we're going to achieve through this.
Of course. And, everything that I've researched, about Phantom X, I mean, to me, looking outward I'm thinking, man, it's got to cost like millions and millions of dollars.
Cost millions.
Yeah. And the question I have for you is, in terms of accessibility and cost, what's the game plan? Okay, how are we going to make this so it can be accessed by people? And you, I'm sure at this point, are now aware of the struggle of this community in getting access to even simple things.
Absolutely.
Like the archaic socket and, hydraulic ankle or something. And to say, okay, we're developing this, but we're going to make sure that we can get it to the masses. It's not just for the lucky few.
Right. 100%. So that is the entire ethos of Phantom Neuro.
Okay.
I have a lot of thoughts in my head. So many people, especially coming out of academia, which I was within, focus on the technology and don't think at all about everything else that goes into the success of a commercial product.
Right.
And so, as I've come to learn over the years of doing this, the success of a business is maybe 10% determined by the technology and 90% determined by everything else.
Yeah.
That's the access to care, the price point, the team you've built around you, the partners you have, your go-to-market strategy, your integration with different payers and players within the ecosystem. All of that matters so much more than the technology. And so you could have the greatest technology in the world, but if you need an unbelievable amount of infrastructure per patient to receive that one technology for that one person, that's not really a product, right? But to receive an implant that just goes right under your skin, that's an outpatient procedure, no general anesthesia, very easy to take out, almost nothing can go wrong. We're not even touching even the muscles or the nerves, right? So very little can go wrong.
Yeah, that's
Now it
incredible
makes a
when you
lot of
think
sense.
about it. When you say the word outpatient, it's like, oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
So like I go in, they put this sensor in a strategic spot, obviously, where those muscle signals originate. And then suddenly I am donning something that is interfaced
Right.
with that technology.
Exactly.
And now it's all driven by my muscle
Exactly.
instead of my brain.
Well, it's driven, exactly. But it's hard to describe how do we control our limbs, right?
Yeah.
It's not thinking about it.
Well, until you're an
kind
amputee, you really don't think about it much.
Right.
But then suddenly when you jam your residual limb in a socket, you're like, wait a minute, how do I start developing
Right.
new muscle memories?
Right.
And what does it feel like? And I'll talk, to my family, I'll talk to my girlfriend, Sarah, I'll say, that touch, getting that touch back, well, now it's an exercise in what's the limb doing when the carbon fiber part of me touches the ground.
Right.
And I'm trying to rebuild that
Right.
in my mind. And you never get there 100%.
Right.
But this technology, to me anyway, seems like something that can bridge a lot of those gaps.
For sure.
To say, oh, you're going to feel like that's
Right.
really
Your brain,
part of you.
Your brain is going to believe that it is your limb.
And
right?
so much of that is about tricking the brain.
It's so much of it is tricking the brain.
Where are we at in this particular path? Like if we were going to put it on a timeline, when is this going to be something that's very readily available?
Yeah, so I mean, from a control perspective, meaning taking signals from the body, using those to drive robots, robotic limbs. From our perspective, that's in the next few years, right?
Right.
So we're doing our first implantation for control of upper limb robotic prosthetics this year. So like the technology is there and it will be demonstrated in humans for continuous use with multiple different commercially available robotic systems, because we're not building the robots, we're doing the control system for that. And then, then it can scale quickly out to other use cases, such as lower limb. So our hardware form factor and what it does remains the same, regardless of whether it's upper limb implanted here, lower limb implanted here.
Right.
Controlling a laptop, controlling a scooter, whatever it is, right?
Sure.
We're just taking those signals. That's software that changes, not hardware, which means it's quite easy to change what the technology does. So from a control perspective, that's here and will soon be accessible, over the next 3 to 5 years for people.
It's exciting.
From the sensory feedback perspective, which a lot of people also ask about, meaning like if I have a robotic hand and I touch this chair, I want to feel that touch.
Right.
That's quite a ways away.
Right.
And so there's a lot more science and research that has to take place in order for that to be accomplished at scale. And it's all about, most people don't think about, just because it's demonstrated within academia doesn't mean that it's available at scale. There is so much that has to happen. We're talking 10 to 15, 20 years of work from demonstrating in a lab to allowing that to scale out to the average person with the injury.
Right.
And that stuff is even harder, I would say, than the demonstration in the lab.
And I feel like what you're doing, in this space, because so often I talk to amputees and they'll say, well, what are we going to see in our lifetimes? And I say, well, you have to remember that each of us is a small part of that progress. That when we don a prosthesis, right, when we engage some new microchip or some new technology, we're going just a little bit further along. And yes, 100 years from now, when you and I are both gone, right, things are going to look much different.
For sure.
But I'll say, isn't it exciting that that we're kind of part of that progress.
Totally.
That we're this little piece along that timeline.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What I will say, though, is I believe that we are on the cusp of a very significant shift from experiences today to experiences tomorrow. So the prosthetics industry has not changed much for the past 100 years, right? Like, meaningfully. We have these really cool robots, but if you look at it like a robotic hand, this is the hell of it. A robotic hand that costs $75,000 functionally for a patient does this, because there's no other way to control it.
Right.
Well, the body-powered hook prosthesis has been around since the Civil War, and it costs less than 1/7 of what this robot does, and it does the exact same thing in a real world, right? And so there's been cool tech to come out, but I believe that we're on the cusp within the next, let's say 5 to 10 years, where it will be pretty much commonplace for people to have significantly better outcomes than they have today. Now the full like integration where robotic limbs are better than biological limbs and you can feel through them and
the
have
whole
superhuman
Luke
strength.
Skywalker hand and all
of that, I still believe is possible to be in our lifetime. But that's much more distant.
Sure.
But having really good control over these really amazing robotic systems and having superhuman strength or the ability to just replace the limb if something breaks, which you can't do with your biological limb.
Exactly.
That's almost here.
Yeah, it's incredible. And there was a piece of video when I was researching you. There's a piece of video out there. I believe you're giving a presentation or some kind of a talk. And the thing that really resonated with me was when you were encouraging people, young minds especially, to go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it. If there's something that you believe can be done to solve a problem, and it wasn't even necessarily you were speaking to like medicine. It was like in the world.
In the world.
Go for it. And so often, that is kind of what I feel like I'm trying to bring into the limb loss, limb different space. Sometimes you got to go for it. Just go for it, man. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? We fail forward.
My greatest fear in life is living and dying without ever having done anything interesting or even attempting. You don't have to move the needle, but at least attempt to move the needle in some way. Do something interesting with the time that you have here on this planet, as far as we know how it exists. And so I am a firm believer in, like, if you have any cool idea or anything that interests you, like, go for it. Take a risk and go try it. Like, everybody has enough time. Everybody can be scrappy and go find a way, and there's no reason not to.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it's easy just to do the average thing and just, it's like, be born, grow up, do a 9-to-5 job, and then pass away, never having taken any risks throughout your life. And I think you really got to
Status quo lifestyle.
Status quo lifestyle to me is terrifying. Right? It doesn't mean you have to succeed, but at least try. Right? And have passions and do something interesting.
Now, if people want to learn more about you and the company that you're building, where do you recommend that they go?
Yeah, so they can go to phantomneuro.com. They can outreach to us at info@phantomneuro.com, and then just look us up on Google. We're all over there. And yeah, we'd love to hear from people that are interested in the space, people that have amputations or different types of limb disabilities.
Absolutely.
We're trying to make significant moves in the space.
That's Connor Glass. Such a pleasure to meet you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on the Amp'd UP211 podcast.
This is great. Thank you for what you do.
Oh, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Likewise. Awesome.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you so much.
Tell us a little bit about your shirts.
Oh, so this year I told her, I said, you know, let's get shirts, because she makes shirts. Is something that she does. I said, so let's go and just kind of represent, you know, our town, what we have going on, our color. And then here on the sleeves, if you see, we have other things that we have going on. So we have the yellow cross, which is for sarcoma, which is how we both lost our legs.
Right.
Got it.
And then I have the diabetes one, and she has the breast cancer, which she's also a survivor of.
Got it. So we have two warriors right here, right? Kicking ass.
Yeah.
I totally love the bling that's going on.
Thank you.
With the ribbon itself.
Thank you.
And you are both from Las Vegas?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And that's a hot climate. So
Yes.
that
It's hot right now.
presents challenges
Yeah.
as an amputee as well.
Especially because when you perspire.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Oh no. It's oh my God. It's so
hot.
disgusting.
It's tricky.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Also, there's a backside. So,
let's check it out.
And also, when I think about making these shirts, to represent everybody, it's not just about limb loss. It's about limb difference and all that. So,
For sure.
turn around. That's the backside.
There you go. Awareness, limb loss, limb differences. So we got it all covered here. Very nice. Now, I'm just going to throw something out.
Sure.
What if we want to get these shirts?
I can make you one, and I also have contact cards that I'm giving out, so you can reach out to me.
Okay.
And
well,
then,
let's give that information to the world. Go ahead.
My email is breejoe88@yahoo.com. I also have a YouTube channel, Bree_amputee, and we are from Las Vegas, and we represent Las Vegas amputee support.
How about that? Two of our amputee warriors. I'm Rick Bontkowski. This is the Amped Up 211 podcast. Thank you both for
Thank you, Rick.
spending some time
Appreciate
with
it.
us.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Hey, everybody. We're here with Angelina Martinson. We are at the 2025 Limb Preservation Foundation Symposium. Nice to meet you, Angelina.
Nice to meet you.
I am a follower,
Yeah?
just so you know.
Oh, good.
And I really enjoy your content. I think what you bring to the space on social media is incredibly valuable. And all your tips and tricks, your humor, all of those things are so important. And it's really refreshing for me, especially because what you do as a younger person is very valuable, because we don't have as many mentors, advocates, people that are putting out content sort of in your particular age group. And, you know, there's a lot of pressure and things that go on in your age group, especially with social media. And being an amputee in that space can be pretty difficult, I think, to navigate. I remember being a young person many, many years ago, and I had all my limbs, and I still had a ton of anxiety about fitting in,
Yeah,
being cool, whatever you want to call it.
right.
And that was enough. Now, if I was managing this too, I tend to go to that place of, ooh, how would I handle that? What would that be like? Because there's that struggle of acceptance and wanting to be valued, not for this, for you,
Right.
who you are and what you bring to it. So putting yourself out there in that regard, what do you think motivated you to want to share this part of your life, this intimate part of your life,
Yeah.
and make it more public and part of sort of what makes you Angelina?
Yeah. When I was a kid, I was the only amputee on my ballet team or on the basketball court or at school. Like,
Yeah.
never saw another amputee. And so I kind of grew up in this world where I was, you know, the odd one out. And I stood out like a sore thumb when all I wanted to do was fit in.
Yeah.
And I got treated poorly because of it. And then that kind of made me treat myself worse because I viewed myself the way that others viewed me.
Sure.
And honestly, though, once I remember in first grade, my teacher let me do like a show and tell of my leg. And so I like passed my leg around the room and everyone got to see it and feel it and understand it. And then I wasn't like Angelina, the weirdo with the one leg. It was like, wow, she has a really cool leg that can help her do this and that. And so it was like, once I realized that when I let other people in and let them understand it,
Yeah.
they accepted me more. And then I didn't think like, oh, they're judging me. And so it really was like, once I got my self-acceptance and then I shared that with others, it changed my outlook and it changed theirs too. And so I just felt like the sense of power of my story.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to continue sharing that, both for the completely able-bodied because they didn't understand, but also for the amputees because I was like, I see you at the hospital, like where are you out in the real world?
Yeah.
So.
And, you know, to pursue, you know, advocacy as part of your life's mission, I think
especially at a young age, it's really extraordinary and inspiring. I've been an amputee for about 7 years now, and certainly this is coming kind of in the latter part of my life. And I didn't have any of those childhood experiences. I just have what people view as me now, and I don't have a lot of that deeper programming about what it's like to be an amputee.
Yeah.
And when I talk to people that have been amputees most of their life, they're coming from a different place. It's different.
Yeah.
So often the people in my sort of category, they might have been complications as they aged, whether that was, a vascular issue, or they had cancer, or they had a traumatic event of some sort that occurred in their adult life. And that mindset is very different, because now we're sort of in our second act, and we're trying to figure out how to rebuild our lives. Whereas someone who's younger, there's more of a permanence about it, and it's just there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like no escaping it, and I've got a much longer road ahead of me. And what path am I forging that's going to be who I am into my later adult life? I mean, do you think about that version of yourself, let's say 20 years from now, 30 years from now?
I do. Just this year I took up mountain biking, which is dangerous and hard on the body.
Very dangerous.
And I know I only have one good leg for the rest of my life. So I do think about that in a lot of ways, but it's also like, this is all I've ever had and all I've ever known, that I want to enjoy as much as I can, because just like you said, you never know when things can change. Like, I can't help the future, but I can enjoy my body that I have right now.
Absolutely.
And make the most of it.
Right.
I know my dad would always scold me, like, you only have one good leg, like, be careful. And I'm like, but I got one good leg and I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And do you feel like getting into those physical spaces, those athletic spaces, do you feel a sense of empowerment from that?
I do, yeah. My parents instilled that in me at a very young age. Because I would say, like, man, I really wish, like, I could be a ballerina when I was, like, 7. And they're like, well, you can. And I was like, oh, like, I didn't think that was possible. But they really were like, try it. Like, it doesn't matter if you're good at it or not. Like, try whatever you want to try.
Well, able-bodied kids are terrible at it.
Yeah, no kid's a good ballerina.
I've been to the recitals where I'm like, this kid has
brutal.
2 left feet.
Yeah.
Like, what's happening out there?
Yeah. But yeah, I just was a big part of forming who I was at a young age, that I still want to try new things, especially sports related. I'm still not good at any of them, but it's fun. It's challenging.
And I appreciate you saying that, because when you think about, your contribution to social media and what you're now building as your own, following, speak to them. What do you want them? What do you want them to learn from you? What do you want them to get out of the content that you create?
I think there's sort of this void of middle ground. I think people get overwhelmed by the thought of amputation and, my life's over. What do I do now? I'm not going to be able to do what I used to. And then they see, on commercials, these Paralympians, and they're like, well, I'm never going to get there. And so then they just kind of shut down.
Yeah.
And I just want to show the real everyday stuff, that life can be full, it can be very meaningful, and you don't have to be this top performing athlete. If you just want to get back into your garden, work toward that goal. Like, that's a very good goal to have. So. Don't
you think, like, seeking out your personal best, no matter what level it's at, it's still your best?
Yeah.
I feel that way. I mean, when we, put in, 35 miles today on our bikes,
Yeah.
I feel really proud of that.
Yeah.
I'm not signing up for Team USA anytime soon.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't clip in on a bike. That terrifies me. You know, I definitely am not, you know, the guy in the, you know, the spandex and, you know, all of that, you know, really flashy. I'm just a middle-aged guy that wants to be active.
Yeah. Let's go for a bike ride.
I'm seeking my best in that particular
Yeah.
sort of space. And when I see people like yourself promoting that middle ground, it's so important. Because so much of what I talk about with amputees, and I've written about with amputees, is it's okay that you're not at the top of that spectrum. It's just not okay that you surrender to being at the bottom
Right.
of the spectrum.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to ask you, because you know certainly you're gaining momentum and increasing in popularity. What do you do when you stumble upon negativity?
I get that a lot.
What do you do with your haters, Angelina?
I take it personally.
You do?
I'm so bad at that. I'm just such a people pleaser and I like read the hate comments to my husband, and he's like, "You gotta just like let it roll off." He's like, "Not everybody's gonna like you, and that's okay." And I'm like, "It's not okay. I want them to like me. I'm just trying to help." But my message isn't for everyone, and that's fine. But I think my message is really important because I didn't have that growing up. Like I said, I was the only disabled person in any community I found myself in. And so I don't want another little girl growing up to not feel like she has that support from someone else who's dealt with it. Because my parents showered me with love, but I was like, you don't get it. Like you haven't gone through this.
Sure.
And so I pull myself back up after those negative comments, and I keep going because I think my message is too important to let them stop me. And I dealt with bullies as a kid. I've dealt with
please
the
don't let it stop
hateful
you.
comments.
I'm just saying, please don't let it deter you, because I find that a lot of that type of energy is motivated from nefarious intent, intent, because it usually is rooted in some frivolous form of jealousy or people don't want other people to thrive.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. So much of my mission as an amputee, similar to yours, is let's get the real images, the real people, the real life experience. Let's destigmatize what this is about and get our group of people the same opportunities that others receive.
Yeah.
Free of any kind of judgment. And what does that mean? Well, it means the same jobs. It means the same relationships.
Yeah.
The same opportunities for happiness. And if someone can't see that, next.
Yeah. Not worth our time.
Next. So I've gotten pretty good at ignoring it.
I need to work on
It's like,
that.
whatever. Too bad for you.
Yep.
Oh well. But I understand that a lot of that resilience can take time, especially when you want to find an audience and have that engagement that creates positive change. Because I'll internalize it too, where, oh, am I creating like problems?
Yeah.
Am I the reason why like there's hate in the world? I don't want to be responsible.
Right.
I want it to be a love fest, you know. I want it to be good.
Yeah.
And when you see that kind of rear its ugly head, you're like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't film that next video.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. Yeah. It's
I was all
definitely hard
excited
putting
about
yourself
creating
out
that
there.
content,
Right.
and now I'm not excited about it anymore. And that's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard. And I think, especially for a female too, who, men are lucky. We're not judged as much for our appearance. This isn't some big reveal. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
Women put themselves in that spotlight, and you're putting yourself out there. and people are not kind,
No.
you know, and that's unfortunate. And I will tell you, and you know, I'm going to get some hate over this statement. Weak men don't like strong women. Sorry, guys. That's just how it works. And there's a lot of weak men out there. So, you know, I celebrate people like you and say, you know, I'll get a DM from, you know, a younger amputee and say, you know, there's someone you should check out.
Oh, thank you.
She's good. She's got some great content.
Yeah.
You know, look her up. I think you'll really connect with her message.
Awesome. Thank you.
How much do people want to listen to me, some old guy? You know? We need some fresh faces.
But that's the thing. It's like, I know that I get comments, and you're a baloney as well. People say things like, well, it's easy for you because you're baloney. And I'm like, well, here are a few above knee amputees you can follow. Like, I understand you may not resonate with my message.
You actually offer an alternative?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute.
Like, if you don't want to watch it,
You
go to
don't
their
like
page.
Me, there's this other channel you can go to.
Yeah.
That is so funny. I would just be like, yeah, you're just not getting it. I think I'm going to navigate away from this. But yeah, I so appreciate what you're doing. Please keep doing it. And you know, what was your purpose in coming to the symposium today? Like, what were you hoping to get out of it?
I presented on self-advocacy, which is like the thing I harp on the most on all of my social media, is being your own voice, because no one should care more about your comfort and mobility than you. And so I have all of these connections online with people that I've talked to for years, and so that was the biggest thing for me, was like meeting these people face to face. It's nice to have this great community, but it's really great to meet and swap stories, and
So having that face-to-face, like real-time engagement, don't you think that's such a huge game changer?
Yeah.
And does it create like a lot of momentum for you as an amputee?
Yeah.
I think so too.
It solidifies that community.
Yeah. It's like a recharge.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I'm in the right place.
Yeah.
This is going well.
Puts away all those negative comments.
Exactly. All of that seems to dissolve and go away. Okay, tell our listeners how to follow you.
I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. All of those are at Adaptive Amputees, and I have a website, adaptiveamputees.com.
Did you hear that? Angelina Martinson, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So nice to meet you.
You too.
I will be following. I will be liking and sharing.
Thank you.
And, you know, keep doing what you're doing. We so appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll share your podcast.
Please.
Thanks for having me.